Everyday life issues broken down to help you build your own opinions on the issues that matter most. Coming to you from Austin, Texas, this is The Deciding Factor with your host, Alton Hill and John Herzog.
Hey guys, I am John.
And I'm Alton.
And we are The Deciding Factor. You know, Alton, I've got to ask you, are you left-handed or right-handed?
Obviously right.
Right is right. So I am too, and it's very interesting on how many people that I have met, including in my family, that actually are left-handed. Because it's actually not as popular or as common as you would think. So wanted to add to that, though. We brought in a special guest. Her name is ST Rappaport, and she is a relationship photographer. She's also a creative journal expressive art coach and hosts the Life Picks relationship podcast at that. After observing, listening, and connecting with so many other couples, ST is on a mission to find out what makes relationships work and how they become extraordinary, and is here to help as many couples as possible. Wow, I'm struggling already.
Welcome.
How are you doing?
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here talking with you.
Nice. Yeah, it's good to have you. You know, one thing I started thinking of that's kind of tricky, I was thinking about left-handeds, but then all of a sudden something came in my head. So when you talk about going forward, backwards, upwards, downwards, why is it sideways and not sideward? Any clue? Nope. I don't know either.
Because you're moving sideways and you're moving...
Yeah. Everything else is forward, backward. Why isn't it sideward?
Sideways, sideways. Do you turn when you go sideways? And when you... I'm just like visualizing it in my brain. I'm really visual.
What's crazy is this question has bugged me for probably a few years now, and I still don't understand. But yeah, I'm going to pass.
The English language, man, it's really the worst language. Like I used to work with a bunch of, English is their second language people. And these are people with like PhDs, really clever people. And we had this board that we would always write funny English things on that didn't actually make any sense in any other language if you said it, which I'm sure all other language may have these things, but like, what's up? It's like, what does that mean? Right.
Yeah. I've always struggled even with the spelling side of things, and I know we're getting off topic, but
spelling is my worst.
Is it? Oh, good. I'm not the only one. I think Alton's pretty good, aren't you?
No, not at all. Actually, I would say I'm terrible. Actually, I don't like saying that I'm terrible at things. I'm developing skills as a speller. Yeah.
I like that.
So ST, you do relationship photography. Tell us a little bit about, what you do and what that looks like.
Okay, so I take pictures of couples in their ultimate state of love and connection. And after we take those pictures, we choose their favorite picture that they want to have always, that shows the emotions that they will always want to have, and they hang it up on their wall like a vision board. Mm-hmm. So even if they're not looking at it, because as soon as you hang up a picture on your wall, you don't notice it until a new person comes into your house and says, hey, that's a pretty picture, right? And you're like, oh, actually, I do have that picture up there. But your subconscious mind notices it, and it goes in and trains your brain to think like that. So you're in this relationship and you are loving and connecting, and this is what you want. So this is what it's going to help you do. It's going to train your brain to think in that way.
Yeah.
So that's for the relationship aspect.
How do you come up with that idea? I mean, does a couple just say, hey, we love kissing on our sailboat, and so you get on a sailboat and you go out there, or like, how do you create that?
So it really depends on the couple. It's not really so much it could be a specific thing, like you said, like kissing on a sailboat, so then we could go and do that. But it's more just a very genuine emotion. You know, like when you walk, I would say in a park more than the street, because you don't see it in a street. But sometimes like when there's just like a couple who's just, you see their emotion, like, okay, they are in love or they are not interested in each other. You know, you could tell exactly what it is.
Tinder date gone bad.
It's like trying to pull out that very genuine emotion. So we more discuss beforehand what emotion they want versus exactly how to get it. And then at the actual photo shoot, they just go act themselves, have fun, and through that, they'll find that emotion.
Huh. So I guess, you know, we forgot to mention in the opening, we're actually going to discuss with you about writing or learning to write with our non-dominant hand. So that's why we're kind of making the connection here as far as how you got involved in all this. You said you were reading a book. Is that how you got pulled into this particular topic?
Somebody came to my house, needed a place to stay and stayed by my house, who was doing this CJA thing, and I found it really fascinating. And I was at that point looking for more ways to help the couples I was helping with, because vision boards are great. I love them, but they don't solve problems. So learning how to write with your non-dominant hand could actually help you through those challenges, so you have that genuine emotion the whole time.
Nice.
So wait a second. You just said that if we try writing with our non-dominant hand, it can actually help us solve relationship issues.
Yeah, not only relationship issues, also all emotional issues or trauma or physical pain. Lots of stuff could happen with your non-dominant hand.
Really?
All right. You piqued my interest now, especially I got John here. You know, need a lot of help with John.
So statistically, I found out that 90% of people are right-handed, and what?
90, you said?
Yeah, 90% of people are right-handed. No, that's what they said on the internet. I read it in multiple places.
I'm fact checking you, John.
and then 10% are left-handed or a form of ambidextrous. Now, out of that 10%, there's only 1% that is actually fully ambidextrous. Did you know that?
Yeah, a lot of people think they're ambidextrous because they do things with different hands. Usually it's like fully as if you could do everything with both hands, or especially writing with both hands. That's a really big one. Many people, they write with their, let's say, right hand, but then they catch a ball with their left hand and they consider it like, hey, yeah, I do things with both hands. But
So did you fact check me, Alton?
Go ahead. As you were.
Appreciate that. So it'll help you with relationships. You say there's other things that it can actually help you with as well, right?
That's right.
So
literally anything. It sounds crazy, but it's about understanding yourself and the situation, so then it could help you with anything.
Okay, so let's start with, how would we learn to write with our opposite hand?
Okay, so when you write with your opposite hand, you don't have to think about it. You just write. So it's going to be messy, illegible, big, tiny, who cares? The point of it is the process of writing than the actual thing. That's not getting hung up on your wall. So there's nothing really to learn. You just have to go into it.
Or we can hang it up on our wall and we can say our kids drew it, right?
Yeah, you can.
So what?
Some people actually draw better with their non-dominant hand. Not me.
There's no way.
But
what
apparently.
are we writing? What are we writing about?
Okay, so you're going to want to write about whatever situation you're in, okay? The way it works, can I explain like a bit of the background so you'll understand it better?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Scott, no. Okay, so you don't want to hear. Fine.
Of course I do.
Okay, so there's two sides of the brain, right?
Yes.
Now, each side of the brain is in charge of the opposite side of the body.
Both sidewards, right? You know, I got you there.
Yes.
The right side of the left side, the right brain, the left side of the body, sideward of the body. Yeah, whatever. The neural connections go sideways. I don't know. Anyways, that's the way they each work on the opposite side of the body. And the left brain is in charge of all logic stuff, right? So math, reading, order, time, all the logic things. The right brain is in charge of all the creative stuff, music, drama, art, and it's in charge of emotions. So when you write with your non-dominant hand, you get direct access to your emotions without all the logic reasoning coming in place and excuses or like voices and other people telling you what to do, sort of thing.
I will say I'm definitely the left brain. So hopefully I don't have too many emotions that would come out.
We live in our left brain. Our whole world is really left brain. Everything we do is left brain.
Really?
Unless it's like a really creative thing like music or drama sort of thing. Think about it. Driving a car, you have to think logically. Am I going to stop at the stop sign or am I going to go? Like, what's going on here? So that's for that. Now, once you have that, yeah.
Well, I was just gonna. I mean, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt your.
No, I'm just gonna say that once you understand that, then you could go and do the answer your question.
Huh.
So, how does this look like with couples, and how do you introduce this? Because I got to be honest. Like, if I called and I was like, "Hey, I want to do some photos," and want to do this vision board, we're kind of having some issues, and you're like, "Yeah, let's do this other exercise." How do you serve that up to people and explain it? I guess introduce it maybe.
So it's really weird. Most people are extremely skeptical about it until they actually try it and see what happens when they write with their non-dominant hand. And then you're just amazed and like, okay, this is cool. I like this. And no more questions asked. Tell me how I could get more of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long until you get results? Sorry.
That depends on the person. For me personally, the first session I went to right away, I got tons of stuff. It depends how much you're willing to let go and try it and how skeptical you are. Like, hey, like, no, like, I don't like this. Then it might take longer and say, like, maybe there's something here. But if you come more open, those are the people I tend to find get answers much faster.
You're up, Elton.
So what is like your biggest aha through, writing with your non-dominant hand, or what is the biggest maybe improvement that you've seen through using this technique?
On a personal level.
Yeah.
So for me, it was probably there at that first session where I realized that I was doing photography full time. Mm-hmm. But besides for doing that full time, I still had another job for no reason, just like, I need the job that I absolutely hated. And it was just like realizing that there was much more to the story just because of my pattern behaviors of the past and the way I've done things. And like, I thought it was necessary to keep this job, but I was like, hey, no, never mind. I like this photography. I love this photography. I don't need this other job. There's no point. And was able to get that out of the way. So for sure, that was the first thing that just like got me there.
So then you just dropped, you went and you did this, and then
I finished up. Yeah, you can't like leave the next day,
Yeah,
but
yeah. But you made the decision, right?
Yeah,
that
yeah.
You were done and that you were going to pursue a better life, I guess, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
that's been good.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. See, now I get to speak to you.
Yeah, man. Talk about awesome.
He's really full of himself.
Hey, I got jokes all day. All day. I've had so much coffee. I'm ready.
How many pots you go through today?
Probably 2. And then my power went out and it got really hot in here. So.
Oh yeah, we almost didn't have a show today. That was interesting.
It's been exciting.
Your power's been out.
Yeah, normally, sometimes it'll just like shut off real quick in the summer because the AC's running everywhere. But today it shut off for like an hour, and it's, 95 or 100 degrees outside. So it doesn't take long to get hot inside.
Yeah, sounds like us a couple of weeks ago. We had that like by the hurricane situation was down for quite a few hours and it was really hot.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So, okay.
Well,
People are coming.
Hold on.
Go ahead, John.
Back to the question of teaching yourself. So is are you only supposed to just start writing whatever right then and there, or is there more follow-up? Is there other little tricks of the trade? What would you say?
So there's all different exercise prompts that you could start doing to get you in the right direction. Okay, like a really basic is like draw a picture with your non-dominant hand of that challenging situation. And then what you do is you ask questions to the picture, which is the situation, with your two hands. Questions go with your dominant hand, thinking logically, and you answer with your non-dominant hand without thinking, and you just write. That way you use both sides of your brain all together.
Huh. Interesting. So drawing pictures, trying to write. What about throwing balls and things like that? Does that help, or is it really not structured for that?
Yeah, so that really develops the creative brain and the emotional brain, and for sure creates new neuron connections and is great. But if you're in a situation and you want to know what to do, how can I solve this, actually get through it, you'll get your answers through writing, because a ball can't exactly talk to you.
Interesting.
So, okay. Is this something I'm imagining that these are like exercises that we're doing? A lot of people might say that they do journaling on a regular basis, right? That they say, this is a good way for me to take what's on my mind and put it on paper, or to write down your goals, write down your to-do list or whatever. Just like there's a connection between having a pen and writing down what's in your mind on paper. And they do that on a regular basis. Is this something that you should do on a regular basis, or like exercise, right? Like if I want to be fit, I can't just exercise once and then, hey, look, I'm in shape. And is this something that we need a trainer for too? Like, do you need to be guided through this, or what does that look like?
Okay, I'm going to answer your second question first.
Yes.
Okay. You could literally just start writing right now with your non-dominant hand, questions with your dominant hand and going back and forth. But if you want more, like, in the right direction, you want to work through something more specific, or you need help with a much bigger problem like trauma or something, then you'll want to for sure get someone trained in it, or at least one of the books of creative journal expressive arts. There's a whole bunch of them with all different exercises. That's for that. Now, I personally journal almost every day. I really try to do that. I think it's great. Like you said, letting out people. So for people who journal every day anyways, it's great. You're not like doing something so much harder to start writing with your non-dominant hand. Try part of it to write with your non-dominant hand, see what happens. But besides for doing it every day just to let it out, it's great for whenever you have some sort of little difficult situation. It doesn't have to be a whole major challenge. Should I quit my job or not? But just a smaller thing, like I got into disagreement with someone, or this person's annoying me, or even I'm just feeling frustrated. You could just scribble with your non-dominant hand even, and because it's directly from your emotions, it's going to go right onto the paper and it will just come right out. So it depends on the person, depends on what you think on the situation.
Yeah.
So you gave the example of this could help us with our relationships, would be a present tense. What about anything in the past? Can it reflect backwards in your thinking? Like how does this work?
Yeah, because everything that happened from the past is still part of you, right? So, right, that's why trauma has something traumatic happen to someone, it affects them 20 years later, right? So you have to, your brain and behaviors form in a certain way based on what happened in the past. So you have to reparent or retrain your brain and emotions to think in different ways. Now, you might not even know why you're doing this. So let's say you're in a relationship and for some reason your partner is always doing this to you, and it's not anything major, but it's bothering you majorly. If you journal about it, you might realize that, like, hey, maybe your dad did that when you were a kid, something, I don't know, you had some crazy story in school or something, and that's why it's really bothering you, and then you could go and work through it. So for sure, it helps from the past to understand what happened and to teach yourself now how to deal with it now.
Interesting. So
then, sorry, John, you want to
no,
go? I'm just thinking like, okay, let's say that Heather's doing something, my wife, that's driving me crazy right now. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to do a little exploring with what's going on. Like, you know, she's got the toilet paper rolling out the wrong way or something. Like, give me some real tactical ideas. Like, what should be the first thing that I write down? Like, Heather's driving me nuts. Why doesn't she understand how to put the toilet paper on right? And I need to come up with like 2 or 3 pages, or I need to do it for like 5 minutes. Or then I realize that she's also never putting the cap on the toothpaste, or she's like squeezing it in the middle instead of rolling it up neatly. Like, and then how do I, let's say that I realize that she's totally wrong in the toilet paper setup, the toothpaste setup. Like, I guess help me understand like how I'm going to move through this.
No, let's make this a marriage counseling session. What else is there that you want to get off your chest?
Okay, I'm going to give you an answer that's not for that thing, it's for anything.
Man.
Okay?
Do you know how many years I've had to deal with this toilet paper? I'm just kidding.
You could have 2 separate toilet paper rolls. One will be for you and one will be for her, okay?
That would be epic. Like 2 sinks.
In the bathroom, 2 sinks, 1 toothpaste, and 1. Yeah.
We're in odd times right now, so I could see it happening.
Mm-hmm. You have to stay 6 feet away from your wife.
That would be so epic to walk into somebody's house and see that there's like 2 things there. You know, they have that in like commercial stalls. They could just change. Anyway,
I lived in a house once years ago that had in the bathroom 2 sinks, actually.
Yeah, I mean, 2 sinks, that kind of makes sense, right? But they're duplicates. But to provide for the weird toilet paper people.
Oh, toilet paper.
Just to be clear, though, I used to think that the toilet paper should come off of the bottom of the roll. That just made so much sense to me.
What?
And then, yeah, well, I've actually changed my mind.
What made you change your mind?
You wanted to join the normal group?
It was the fact that off of the bottom, I found that I had to like reach just a little bit further to get the toilet paper. And sometimes I couldn't tell where like the right spot was for the new part. And, you know, Heather and I went back and forth. She thought that it should come off the top, and I'm like, you're nuts. And then actually, this was on the internet, so I know it's true. It was a picture of the patent of the toilet paper, and the patent actually showed the top. And I, with the engineering background, I'm like, okay, I'll try it. And so I kind of acquiesced to Heather and thought, okay, let's just do this. And I found I just liked it coming off of the top so much more.
So sometimes your wife is right.
Sometimes. I will allow sometimes.
Oh, man. We went from left-handed and right-handed.
No, but this is about relationships, and it's about like working through these things and finding ways to like prompt the change in the habit. Because I suspect so I'm coming up on my 18-year marriage anniversary. So we've worked through a lot of things that we've had to, you know, that are just habits, right? Like she grew up thinking the toilet paper is one way. I grew up thinking it's the other, but there's so much more than that. Like everybody can probably identify with toilet paper or toothpaste, but I mean, the other things are true too, that we have to learn how to adjust with. So anyway, completely derailed you, but like tactically, how do we work through this? Like give us some real tips that we can use.
Right. Okay. So just writing, you could, if you want easiest thing, sit down, just write with your non-dominant hand.
Mm-hmm.
But you could take it much further than that. You could draw toilet paper, draw a picture of that toilet paper or that toothpaste that you want it to look like with your non-dominant hand. And then take 2 pens or 2 markers, it's way funner, and have that dialogue between your 2 hands. Questions with your dominant hand answer with your non-dominant hand. Give you 4 basic questions, and then you could take it however far you want. You could start by, who are you? Talking to the picture. So I'm the toothpaste fight or whatever comes out, because remember, when you answer, you don't think. You're thinking only when you write the questions. Who are you? How do you feel? Why do you feel this way? And what can I do to help you? Now that goes straight into, how do you feel? I'm angry. Why do you feel this way? Because I never get to have the toothpaste I want. And as you write the questions, you might have more questions come up, like, why do I need the toothpaste to be this way? Or continue the dialogue, answer questions based on what comes up. Ask more questions based on the answers that you get.
Got it. I got it. So this, to me, it's seeming like it's kind of opening a door, and then you can go down that pathway as far as you want or need to.
Yeah, we like to call it like layers of an onion, because you're going to take off one part and you're going to realize one thing and you figure it out, the toilet paper roll, but there's more and more. I can't see.
Man.
It's like way too bright. I just see white.
Yeah, sorry. I drew an epic toilet paper roll with my left hand.
Is it nice? Even though you drew it with your non-dominant hand.
Yeah, it looks really good. You'd know exactly what it was.
Okay, now you should try journaling.
Is it a nice little circle?
But toilet paper is already figured. You could like try doing it with toothpaste instead, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't want to because you don't really want to solve your problem. That could be possible.
Maybe I just want to argue with her. So here's the funny thing, though. Like,
you're going to get the chance after she hears this radio show.
What are you saying?
You're going to get the chance to argue with her after the show airs. So
I have so many chances to argue with her. It's really the arguments with the kids that I need to learn how to do better. So,
well, you could do the same thing with your kids. Write out what happened. This kid never cleans their room or never goes to bed on time. And you just want to know how to talk to them so that they will. And it may be like give them more space, maybe more strict with them, depend on who the kid is. You never know.
Hey,
do the same thing. Draw the picture and ask those questions.
Alton, you can even write
for me.
You can even write cuss words with your left hand, and they'll never know what you're saying.
Oh yeah, you can write whatever you want.
So there's
no rules. It's really important.
An aha for me. So used to, I wrote in like normal case letters, and so I would try to like brand my type, if you will, and so it's like, if I was going to write a P, I would write a very small, I don't know, the circle part of the P, and then a really long tail. And then if I was going to draw an L, the L would be like epically long in proportion to everything else. So it just looked like in the center, there would be very small with like all these tails shooting off. And then I graduated in my life to where I just wrote in all caps. And that was easier for me to just do the all caps. And the second that I sat down to start writing with my non-dominant hand, I made it like 3 letters in all caps and then went directly back to how I used to write, you know, when I was in 7th or 8th grade, which was pretty interesting to me. So to me, it just tells me that I'm tapping into something that's totally different than what I would be doing with my right, and not just the fact that it's extra sloppy.
Yeah, that's your inner child in there.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty interesting that, you know, just letting it come out.
So this is what you just wrote right now after you drew the toilet paper.
Well, I wrote, I love this podcast. ST is a great guest. And then the toilet paper. Yeah.
Let's see that toilet paper picture again, so that all the podcast listeners can see.
Give it a second. It might take a second to focus, but I can't see it. Is it focusing at all?
No, it's so bright.
Oh, well, there it is. There it is.
Oh, wow. It actually looks pretty good. And you drew it the right way, the topward down. But I can.
Right.
You did it the right way from the top down.
Honestly, it's not that much worse than my normal handwriting. So,
but how do you feel now?
So you could go into this non-dominant hand thing. It's actually cool and actually works.
I like it.
But how do you feel now?
I feel good. So, like for me, I enjoy exploring these types of topics. So, ST, I like that you said, how are you going to approach this? I think a lot of people, they're going to read a title and they're just going to check out and be like, yeah, that's weird. But I found for me being pretty narrow-minded generally, like I'll admit that. Because once I make a decision, I'm pretty confident in that decision, right? Like our whole podcast is about the idea of like, let's really dig into these topics and then make a decision. And so when I make a decision, I've kind of like, yeah, I thought about that a lot. I can change my mind, but generally it's difficult. But I found that when I have an open mind, it really opens doors to so many things that a limited mindset blocks you off from. If that I don't know if that was coherent at all.
1000% for sure. Because if you would have said like, hey, this is crazy, you wouldn't have tried out writing with your non-dominant hand.
Yeah.
And maybe now you just drew toilet paper, but who knows what you'll draw tomorrow, and maybe you learn something really cool.
Yeah, it's good, you know, and I think it's also for me, and John and I have talked about this more off of the show. But for us older guys, it's a little harder to learn the new tricks. But for our children, you know, when you introduce these concepts when they're young and still, you know, haven't learned everything, then it empowers them for a lifetime to use these tools to do, even though like maybe some adults might not be so interested in doing it. You know,
okay, to all those adults who aren't interested, I tell you, the person who like made it up, Dr. Lucia Capacchione, she's like 80 something, and all the people who get trained are like in their 60s. Very few are in the 40s, most are 60 and up. I went to get trained and I was like this little baby there. So it's all for old people, okay? I don't know, it's really for everyone, but for anyone who thinks that it's only for kids, it's really, really not.
So now I'm going to challenge you. So before doing the show, I went out and did some research. Apparently, over in England, they've actually done some studies about learning to be ambidextrous, or people that are actually growing up ambidextrous. So studies actually found over in England, there was a study on 11-year-olds that those that are ambidextrous by any means, you know, fully or partially, it found that they actually have learning issues as a kid, and it actually causes major problems. Have you seen or read anything about scientists saying not to do this because it might affect? Now, I will say this. Let me back up just a second. It is in kids that they talk about this, not in adults. I don't think they have studies to correlate adults, but it looks like as kids, this could actually be a bad thing. What do you know?
So I'll tell you what. When you force somebody to do something that they don't want to do, then that is detrimental. Like there are a lot of stories of people who like were lefties and they were forced to write with the right hand, and those are the ones that many times become like have learning disabilities because their brain is, they're like trying to write and they just can't write, right? When we're writing with our non-dominant hand, we don't caring how it comes out. It's not in first grade where they're marking how every line is and everything. So they have really big learning disabilities. And then even just the concept of their whole self-esteem goes down, and it makes it even harder for them to learn. So those people also, those are the ones, they end up learning to write with their right hand, but they still do things with their left hand because that becomes easier for them. So maybe a scissor they'll also do with the right hand because it was taught for a right hand. Those are the people that many times do have learning disabilities. When you do this with kids, you want to make sure that you're not forcing them to do this, but that they want to do this, and then it will be fine. And you don't like, if they want to stop, if they want to do it differently, there's no pressure, there's no like rules. It's literally how you want, and then there shouldn't be any problems.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point, John. And I know I have a buddy of mine who has dyslexia, and he's kind of like struggling with dyslexia his whole life, and a super smart dude, but like the numbers and the letters just they don't go well for him. So like reading and even math is a real struggle for him. And yeah, ST, I heard like a similar deal is that when kids are trying to learn something a certain way. So like we did a lot of shooting, which you have a dominant eye, a dominant hand, and it all works out. Or sports where you're batting, you're throwing, all of these things require you to do it a very specific way. Well, my buddy's dad is left-handed and he's right-handed. And so when I read that study, I thought, well, he's trying to mimic everything that his dad's doing, but his dad's left-handed and he's right-handed. And so anyway, just to echo what you were saying, that trying to learn some things the other way when you're young and pliable, but maybe this can open that up for adults too, to kind of unlearn.
Yeah, there have been quite a few people who didn't even know that they were lefties, or like they knew it, but like they tried to forget about it because they had so many stories from when they were in first grade. And when they started reading through left hand, then they were like, okay, now I could go and do this. And they go back over to it and it actually opens up for them.
Yeah. So have you had some couples come back and talk to you about this later? Like, can you share maybe any stories that they feel like this has helped them with, like maybe somebody with a toothpaste story? Or
okay, so one recent one, there was someone who came to me. She's been in they were separated. Okay, she's not sure divorced or not. She still loves him like crazy, but things were just not working out. And she came to me and she like drawing this picture of her couch and her mom and herself as a little kid and journaling about it. And through the process, she realized that as a kid, her parents really controlled and manipulated her. And then later on in life, she moved to a different country to stay by relatives to go to for high school. And there they really manipulated her. And basically she was always manipulated. And that was the way she viewed the world, and the way she knew how to communicate with people was through manipulation. Now, she had her husband who she loves, and the only way she knows how to express that love is through manipulation. Now, he doesn't want to be manipulated, right? He's overweight and needs help maybe, but he doesn't need her controlling every single bite that goes into her mouth. That's not going to help anything. It's going to make it worse. She's going to leave the house and he's going to go and eat whatever he wants, right? Mm-hmm. Now, she never noticed that because she always said, I love him and I care about him and I want like the best for him. So that's why I'm doing it. Through this, she's all of a sudden able to realize what happened and her actions and like more things that she was doing. And okay, obviously that's not a thing that changes overnight and it's habits and it's going to take time, but continue journaling how else she could go and change it. And just a couple of days ago, she moved back in with him. So it's really cool to see, like, she would have never thought that beforehand.
Yeah, but it helped her bring awareness to it, similar to journaling, what journaling might do, but maybe like that other level of.
Yeah, that is what it is. It like goes one step further because you don't have like, but I this and I thing. And she said that like when you're journaling and you're just writing everything out, that may come out and it's really good because eventually you see it all out and then you're like, okay, well, I don't really care what she says and it's fine that, but it will take much longer. When you just write with your non-dominant hand, you just get those answers much, much faster.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you've talked about pictures a lot. Do you think it's better to draw pictures than write sentences or both?
I think both. The pictures open the creative part where the emotions are, but the answers will come much faster with the writing. You know, it doesn't only have to be drawing. You could do painting, you could do clay, anything with the creative mind to help you get there.
And how often should they do this?
So if you want to do it every day, go right ahead. If you want to do it only when you have a challenge, you could do that too. If you do it more often, like even not every day, but twice a week or so, then your brain will start thinking in that way that when you have a challenge, it'll be easier for you. You won't have to do it that many times to get the answer.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if this could work with, say, like entrepreneurs if they're trying to come up with that solution or the answer? Do you write that question?
1000%, like how to take your business to the next level or how to move it. You could also do it slightly differently, like make a collage of pictures, like go online and find, like, let's say what you want your business to look like, or you're creating a dream house. Okay. And you want this dream house, you know, it's not happening yet. Take pictures of it, make a collage, and then journal, like just like to draw the pictures, like ask the question to the collage that you did. So who are you, the house, how can I get you, what's stopping me from getting you, or what else can I, all those sort of things to help you go and build your house, take your business to the next level, deal with leadership or work problems or anything of this sort.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think that's, you know, all this self-development stuff is so key to everyone. I think a lot of times, you know, and I'm certainly guilty of this. It's like, I don't want to actually do the work until I need to, right? So, relationships, okay. So I don't need to do anything because we're good. And I find, so I'm doing this like this course right now. It's trying to help me take my stuff to the next level. And a big thing that I've uncovered through it is that I'm kind of lazy. I'm not lazy at all when things are crappy. I'm like super good at going from crappy to good. But then for me to go from good to great is a challenge that I've identified for myself, and to really want to put that effort in to go from, hey, life's really good, to like, no, it's the best ever, better than you can imagine, is an area of opportunity for me to develop. And what I'm finding is like, even just identifying that is done through just journaling and like asking myself those questions. So I'm super glad that you've come on the show today.
Yeah, you could now try it with your non-dominant and see what happens.
Double down and like solve some real problems, not the toothpaste, but yeah, some real stuff.
I'm kind of wondering, you know, what happens if you mix this with something like fasting and whatnot, right? So in our church, we had a sermon not too long ago was about fasting, and how if you fast for, 24 hours, it can actually help you focus a little more, think a little clearer, get the answers to what you're struggling with. If you were to combine those two, would you have an even better response? Is there more benefits? Or are there other things that you should not do in combining with drawing with your non-dominant hand?
So I never heard of that. The fasting, first of all, that it makes your brain think clearer. I do know that, like, right, if you eat too much, then it slows down your brain, but especially fasting, that part. But that would be really interesting to find out and like see if that really works. So I can't really answer you on that, but this works really well as an addition to a lot of things, even people who go to therapy or people who are like taking courses or stuff, because it's like your journal and you just add to whatever else you want to do. So you're getting into this problem and then here you could go and do it. Or like you want to start this new course, you bought the course, paid a couple $1,000s for it, can't bring yourself to do it. Why not? Journaling will help you figure that out, right? And give you steps to be able to go and get to it. So I can't think of anything specific that it won't be good. The only thing is not exactly answer, but like really big warning. If you had any major trauma as a kid, don't do it as by yourself. Like you could do it for just like a little daily problem, but as soon as if you hit something or you want to work through your trauma or abuse or something, don't do it by yourself.
So you keep saying journaling, you're referring to the creative journaling, expressive art?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, well, tell John about journaling and why you should do it. I suspect John's not a journaler.
I never journaled until I did this. I absolutely hated it. Okay. Yeah. So try it with your non-dominant hand, and you might have a very different view on journaling.
I'm not big on writing because I can't even write good with my right hand.
But you don't have to think. That's the point. You're just writing, okay?
I always have to think. I'm ADHD, so if I don't think, I'm really screwed.
I mean, I think that that's really a reason to journal, though, is because I think that it does connect you with what's really happening. It kind of blocks out the noise. And I just want to loop back to the fasting side of it. I've done enough fasting that I'm probably not an expert, but I've done enough to have reaped the benefits of it. And just to talk a little bit about fasting and how it helps you mentally is that your brain needs nutrients, but the best nutrients for your brain are not carbs and not sugars themselves. And so when you're eating a high carb diet, it's easy for your brain and your body to operate on those carbs because they're easy to break down. But fats are harder to break down, but it's actually like better fuel for the brain engine. And so when you fast, about the first little bit, you're running off of what's in your gut, right? I just ate a meal and I'm going off of the stuff that's in my stomach. Well, after that runs out, now you switch over to your liver stores and the sugar that's stored in your liver. So you're still kind of using the sugars, but then after 12 hours or so, those generally have run out, and now you have to actually start burning fat. And so that's why a lot of like the intermittent fasting says, you need to go 12, 15 hours in that window so that you can deplete all the sugar out of your liver, your gut. But anyway, so if you're
it sounds like just like what she started saying is it goes from left brain to right brain. You're saying it goes from stomach to liver. So it's all about getting your body to do different things.
And then like, even for me, what I've done too is because like I drink coffee with coconut oil. So even on times that I'm fasting, I'll like fuel my stomach with fat, but there's no carbs. And so you get into this state where I like to equate it to, if you have maybe like a 99-degree fever or 100-degree fever, you don't really notice. Like, at least I don't. I've showed up to the doctor and like, how are you feeling? I'm like, I feel great, but my nose is stopped up, and they're like, oh, look, you have a 100-degree fever. And I'm like, really? I didn't know. But obviously, if your temperature is the right one, you have so much more energy. And I feel like fasting gets to that. You have a little bit more mental energy, and you're a little bit more in that like flow state that probably we've all been, had the right tunes and the right everything, and you're just in that flow state. I think fasting can totally help you get there. So I think anytime you're trying to solve a problem, that's a great way to kind of tune in and get clarity. It's like the opposite of that 2 o'clock in the afternoon crash.
I like it. I think we got some more homework for you, Alton. So you got to smile every morning. You've got to do the word game.
Good morning, handsome. I have to tell myself I'm handsome and compliment myself.
And now you got fasting and writing with your opposite hand. You got to do it.
Better every day. Every day.
I think that's all the questions I've got. Are you good to make a decision now, Alton?
I think so.
I know she is. She came on the show
toilet
ready.
Pepper roll kind of said it all, but let's do it.
Hey, we might have to change the whole title to what's the right way of toilet paper, up or under?
We should totally do a podcast on that, man. Just
everyone will listen to it then.
I don't think anyone else is covering that topic. I feel like we could be.
No, there is. So there's a show on Netflix.
I like those people.
100 people. You got to check it out. 100 people on Netflix. I think it's like the first episode they tackle over or under.
These are real problems. I mean, I know you've got racism and coronavirus, but
toilet paper is the big one.
At the end of the day.
Excuse me, toilet paper has to do with corona.
That's very true. That's very true.
And now you have his and hers toilet paper too.
I saw a guy, this has been a couple of months ago. I'm driving down the interstate. That guy literally had a truck full of toilet paper and I was just like, I told myself, don't run him off the road. He has a lot of old people in his life that can't get out that he's taking toilet paper to. So he's a nice guy, I'm sure.
What a crappy conversation.
Yes,
Yes, I got it. All right, so let's do this. So it's the question is, should I learn to write with my non-dominant hand?
Now it's time for our deciding factor.
So I've got a crazy response for this one, I think. So I think there's several different types of people out there. And I do think, like you said in the very beginning, Alton, is you've got to get some people that look at you like, what the heck is she talking about? She wants to take relationship photos with me, and now she's going to tell me I need to write with my non-dominant hand. But on top of that, she wants me to draw toilet paper rolls with it. I mean, so for me, it did scare me that I did see the studies on the kids writing with non-dominant hands or being ambidextrous, causing learning disabilities. That scares me. So first and foremost, I would say I don't want any kids really doing it unless you do a regular like fun activity or like throwing the football like me and my kids did recently, is trying to actually throw it at each other and still make it to them with your opposite hand. And we found that we hit pedestrians a lot of the times, but you know, hey, you got to make some accidents first, right?
Bonus.
But here's the real kicker is there's a lot of people out there, probably men, unfortunately, who are like me and we're just don't care. Like, I don't want to write a journal with or without my right hand or my non-dominant hand. And then to take it a step further, there's a lot of us men that don't care about feelings as much. Maybe we should, but we don't. So for me, I think I'm out. I don't think I'm going to jump into it and go, oh, I'll learn something or my relationship will get better. Maybe I should try it at least, but I don't know how far I would really take it is my only thing. So I think I'm out.
All right,
what do you say,
Let's
ST?
hear your rebuttal.
Okay. I
Don't
think
make me
you're
look
out
too
till you try it. I think you know my answer. I mean, like I said, I was never into journaling until I tried it, and I literally forget emotions, the things that you figure out in your life, and you just understand what's happening. It's way too cool for me not to. So I'm really glad that I do it, and I just feel bad for anyone who's not because they're losing out.
And she right punches me in the nose.
Bam. Yeah, I think I want to share a little story. Before John and I had a podcast, I had kind of this financial podcast about just for different ways to make money. I interviewed a lot of like multimillionaires and kind of about their stories, and pretty much I only interviewed the 1%ers. And I was had a recommendation for someone to come on the show, and he wrote a book. No, he annotated a book that was written called something to the effect of like mucus forming foods, and had nothing to do with my podcast, but there was strong recommendations for me to interview this guy. I bring him on the show. He was a professor at a college, a university / musician that also was an author. And he told me about eating foods that may form mucus in your body. So for anyone listening, I know it kind of sounds gross, but basically everything that's not fresh vegetables creates inflammation in your body and makes you more unhealthy. Most Americans eat way too many inflammatory foods and like mucus forming foods cause a lot of diseases. This guy, he used to have all these diseases, then he kind of changed over, and it totally changed his life. Now, why am I talking about all of this craziness? Because when I had him on, I'm like, dude, I only eat steaks. You need to shut up and get off my show. But there was something about this guy, just like ST, who he just sat there. He took my grilling, and I was like, "No, man, you got to eat protein. I'm gonna get tough and strong." And he goes, "Alton, how much muscle does a cow have?" And I'm like, "Well, a lot." And he goes, "How many protein shakes and steaks does a cow eat?" And I'm like, "Oh, he got me." So anyway, after I listened to him on that podcast, I read the book. And I totally went out on a limb to try and see if that worked. And I tell you, that's been over a decade ago. And I really haven't gotten sick since I learned those techniques and how those certain foods affect your body. Totally changed my life. He's the 1%. These multimillionaire guys that I was interviewing, the 1%. I don't suspect tons of people are going to adopt trying to write with their non-dominant hand, and I'm 100% okay with that. But I think there's 1% that will try it and see what happens. And so I would encourage anyone listening, if you think you're part of the percent of the population that wants to do different things and not just run with the herd, to give it a shot, because I'm definitely going to give it a shot and see what it can do for me.
Nice.
So that's my spiel, my thoughts on it.
Oh, it's really well said.
He's always good at this. That's one thing good about having him on the show, is he's got the more in-depth conversations than me, right? You bring the best out of me, right?
Well, don't forget about my good looks and why we had to jump on video. Thank you, ST. I know we can be a little difficult, but I think you've been a great guest, and I certainly appreciate you coming on.
Not one tiny bit difficult, just so much fun.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been fun. We had some weird conversations thanks to somebody else. But what about if people, our listeners want to get in touch with you or find out more about you and what you know or what you do? So
the best place would go is go to lifepicksrelationships.as.me, and that's with an X, lifepicks with an X.
Awesome.
.as.me?
Mm-hmm.
And then
why .as.me?
Because that goes straight to my scheduling page, and you will be able to book a free session right there.
Nice.
Well, I definitely want to check out some of your photography. That you've definitely piqued my interest there.
Now, whereabouts are you at again?
I'm in New Jersey. I do love traveling, so that's that, and moved everything over Zoom. So
nice.
Yeah.
Well, have you gotten out and actually started shooting again?
Yeah, we try to social distance sort of shooting, but yeah, it's not that hard to stay far away from someone,
I have to ask, have you done pictures with masks yet? Not you wearing
with
them.
The mask? Me wearing, with the couples wearing a mask. Yeah, usually they want one or two in there. But because I'm not really so much more portraits, more focusing on the emotions, they usually come really in hyper focused on okay, we want to make this happen. And so they would be funny ones, but then they're hey, but no, I want to see that smile or something, so.
Nice.
But yeah, it does come in.
So final question, is the pandemic going to disappear after the election?
Oh man, dragging her into politics.
I didn't ask her what type. I'm asking whether she thinks.
I do not like the news. I do not like politics. I do not like coronavirus.
Well said.
I'm keep
I can
me
get
out.
behind that.
All right. Well, it's been fun. And anything else you want to add to the listeners?
That's it. Thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome.
Thank you for showing up and giving us an awesome show.
And dealing with us, too. All right, guys. Y'all say bye.
Bye.
Adios.
This has been another episode of The Deciding Factor, giving you food for thought on real life issues. Be sure to click, like, and subscribe to this podcast, as well as all your big social media outlets, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Don't forget to check out our website at thedecidingfactorpodcast.com and give us comments and feedback. Until next time, stay safe and remember to keep an open mind.